hearing?
I can hear. That sounds like I can hear a mobile phone sound from the 90s. Does anybody hear that?
That thing, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. I haven't heard that in ages. There's like somebody's got a 3210. Who here's got a 3210, you guys? Put your hands up in the air if you've got a 3210.
Me.
Nice. That's great. Well, they all make that noise generally, don't they? Those old GSM radios.
Yeah.
It's not because there's
Well,
radiation pouring out of them. I promise. That's not the sound. That's not what radiation sounds like.
No, no,
yeah. Radiation doesn't
And
sound
they
like
didn't. And they
anything.
didn't care in the 90s. And none of us got told. And we're all gonna
It's just
have to deal with that
interference.
later in life. Well, that's always going to be fun.
Interference.
Well, yeah, for the stream, for the
Paparazzi.
purposes of the stream, I guess I'll introduce. This is the Banter Space Creators event where you can basically ask any questions. I unfortunately am limited on time, so I might have to bounce a little after 30 minutes from now. But for the next 30 minutes, you've got my undivided attention. You can ask me any questions you like, and I'll do my
Ooh,
best to
any-
answer them.
any
I know
questions?
Aline might be here at some point, but she said
Okay.
that she's going to be late, so she may not make it in time. But yeah, shout out to her Wednesday waffle event, right? It's kind of like a her opportunity to just talk through cool things that she's been working on mostly in the
Oh,
week,
that's hers.
and a lot of it involves visual scripting. You don't like
Sounds
my
good to
audio?
me.
Oh no, it's fine. It's
Sounds good
fine.
to me.
It's
Fine for
fine.
me.
Sounds alright for me.
I think you're having a technical difficulty.
Is your phone near your devices?
Speak of the devil.
It's the
He's back.
interference. It's the interference.
He's definitely not experiencing a bug that's happening with the lip sync
Eileen,
Waffle
right
woman.
now.
it's a waffle. It's a
Oh,
waffle.
Aline's here.
Waffling.
Waffling.
Hey,
Yes,
Aline.
waffling.
I didn't think you were going to make it.
Nice.
Waffling.
I just told all these nice folks I'm not back. I've
Yeah,
heard
you
that this is a
forget.
problem.
That's because
Let me
of
just
the
rejoin.
megaphone bug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Megaphone, megaphone yourself.
Oh.
Well, everything's going great so far. Let's
Looks like it's Eline's show today.
Oh,
looks like we made it.
Keeps it interesting.
I like that
Yeah,
sound.
Eline's show.
Jump higher.
I do. Please, Sam.
Yeah, can you imagine we buy those shit? Oh no.
What?
Yeah.
Ringtones before.
Oh, polyphonic ringtones. Oh, yeah. What about operator
Yeah.
logos? I'm going to put that out there. Anybody remember operator logos? Am I right?
Uh-oh.
Oh my God. What? Two people just got flung across the room. Nice. That's the dangers of holding hands, folks.
Don't touch the camera.
Let's just be careful.
Don't
Okay?
touch
It's
the
really
camera.
dangerous.
Oh my god, I think your eyes are fixed now.
Yes, my eyes are fixed.
Yay!
Ah, nice.
Oh
Did
yeah.
Aline
Get
do that?
LASIK?
Did you fix those, Aline?
Huh,
No,
what?
I think it was Sebek.
Oh, right. Nice.
No.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
I would be
Talking about.
interested to know what he did because
Yes.
I went through your files and it looked just fine. I couldn't see any issue with it.
I've got no idea. I have to ask him. But,
Hang fire, Sebek might come along soon. I just need
Sure.
anyway.
That's cool. If not, we can catch him in Discord anyway and figure that out. Probably the Order of Vyseems, maybe. That could be it.
I think that was it.
don't know.
I'm not
Speaking
sure.
of the sun, and he shall appear. Hi, Sebek.
Oh boy.
Oh, Sebek! Oh yeah.
Que pasa?
What's happening?
I'm I'm a robot. I've got balls. Do you like balls?
So Pony
balls.
said something about you fixing his eyes
Oh.
so that he didn't have.
Yes.
And Aline was like, "How did you do that?"
Oh. It's just the shape keys. I removed all the shape keys that were, well, I just removed the full head, including the eyes and the beard and all of that. And then just placed the new one in with all the shape keys
Wow,
in there instead.
that's a brand
you
new
just took
head
the
you've
head
got
off.
there, Pony.
Yes.
Oh
Jeez,
my God,
you couldn't tell.
brand
You
new
could not
head.
tell.
Oh wow.
But yeah, I think in the end what fixed the blinking of the eye was the shape keys on the eyes. Cause that's
Gotcha.
but
The
then the
eye-blink
beard
shape
wouldn't
keys
move,
are
so
being
I just
driven by
replaced
something weird.
everything in the end.
Good as new.
Gotcha.
I am new.
Well, you got the results, and it's a new head, and that's allowed. We're still normal people after we get new heads. Everything's cool. The essence of you is not stored inside your head, folks, somehow,
Pony
I
got
guess, right?
head.
It's a
Yay.
combination. There's like redundancy between the head and the heart or something. You can get rid of either and it will just rebuild itself. I think that's how it works, right?
We have
There's like a
two
cache in
doctors
your heart.
in the house.
It's a
Now
raid.
we have
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
raid
that's it.
zero.
Your heart
drugs
just
and doctors in bed.
caches your head. Or there's some sort of gut brain thing going on. I've heard about that. That's totally a thing.
Yes.
So you just do a backup, just do a gut
That's what I
backup,
have.
and then replace your head, and then
Oh.
reformat your head,
Load bank.
something like that, right?
Yes.
Oh boy. Okay, so yeah, welcome to Space Makers, ladies and gentlemen. We usually do this by anybody wants to ask something, jump up on the podium. But if you don't, I just waffle on about shit, or we can all talk about shit. That's always an option. But if anyone has any specific questions, speak now or forever hold your peace. I'd love a little background music, like countdown or something right now. It'd be perfect. We could all just wait here, awkwardly silent. Do, 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 do. Right? Go ahead, Zach.
All right.
Great.
So we were just talking about Vismis and shape keys and whatnot. What does us as or us? I'm not an avatar maker, but what is the main thing that the avatar maker needs to remember now with the new system and Vismis and whatnot? Like, some people might not have, like, if they have special characters, what do they need to do to, like, get their avatar right? Or and in general, what do you need to think about? It might be in Discord too, but like, I just wanted to hear you say it.
Sure, sure. Well, look, I'm no expert at this, but I think I have a reasonable understanding. So the standard that Oculus uses is actually from a standard called MPEG-4, I believe. It's MPEG-4 Visiums. That's the standard that Oculus uses. I think it must have been for like old video avatars or something. I'm not too sure what the background is there, but that's what they use, right? They call them Visiums, I believe, because they kind of describe how your mouth looks. Each one of them describes how your mouth looks in different positions, and then they sort of have enough to cast enough of a web around various different mouth positions while you're saying words, and then blend them together, basically. And the result is that it looks the way it does. You can get loads of info about them. You can get them from the Oculus website, or otherwise, I can post those on Discord. You can get a look at them. But honestly, the truth is, and stop me if I'm wrong, anybody else, because like I say, I'm no expert at this. But I imagine the easiest thing is probably to take something like a Ready Player Me head and maybe start with that if you wanted to start with something, right? You just need to make sure that the one you're downloading has all of the Pony's got it. You just rip a head off one avatar and then make multiple copies of it, and then you can have any head you want. Pull out all the heads and stick them onto your avatar. I believe that's probably the best way, right? But for anybody who's familiar with blend shapes and shape keys in general, you just now have a bunch of new shape key channels that you can use and do whatever you want. You know, T minus God knows how long until skibbity toilet avatars are in here, and people are doing crazy things with all these shape keys and making their entire heads explode as they talk. Right? Sebek knows what I'm talking about. I assume, right?
Maybe.
I mean about the blend shapes, not about the
Or
heads exploding. Yes. See, there you go. But yeah, I mean, as far as I know, that's what's involved, right? And that's with what we've got currently. Before we did the recent update, there was really only 3 blend shapes or shape keys that you could make use of, which was mouth open, which a lot of people use for things like their wings and extra things, and then there's blink um, blend shapes for each eye, right? Eye left blink, eye right blink, basically is what they're called. But now there are 14 more added in, right? Which represent all of these other Oculus Visemes. Those 14 must exist in their entirety in order for it to be picked up and be usable, right? Right now, there's other limits in place. If there's too many people in the room, it might start to simplify or even drop back to the fallback of our old Visemes, right? That's to try and deal with some performance issues that we ran into after launch. But there is another solution I'm working on, hopefully behind the scenes, which might allow us to open up the floodgates with that limitation, and even actually a lot of other ones while we're at it too. But yeah, I don't know. I hope that answers your question. I don't know if Aline wants to add to that or anybody else who creates, maybe Lisa, Dead Zed, I don't know.
Can
Sebek,
I ask, like,
anyone.
the ranges of the shape key 0 to 1?
0 to 1.
Um, it was set before, like with mouth open, it was set to where in Banter it kind of started at 0.15 by
Yes.
default.
Yes.
Has that changed at all with the Visemes?
So the Visemes are ranged from 0 to 1, all of them. The mouth open one that was starting at, I think it's 0.2 or something like that, is where
Okay,
the
okay.
baseline is.
Mm.
So that one is still the way it always has been. That's kind of there
Yes.
for backwards compatibility. But the new ones, they're fully normalized on the 0 to 1 range.
Mm. So what was the reason for that not being at 0?
That is a good question. I know there is a good reason, but somewhere
Mm.
inside there, it's clamped at that range of 0.2 to 1.
Right.
I can't honestly remember right now offhand
You're
why
fine.
it
I was
is.
just
There's
curious.
if we're lucky, there's a comment somewhere buried in a code file which explains why
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
done that way. But yeah,
All right.
I mean, at this stage, it's kind of probably maintained mostly for backwards compatibility. Even
Yeah,
the way
yeah,
things are right now, with the new blend shapes we've added support for, it's actually honestly, to be totally frank, it's because we're in the process right now of trying to record a launch trailer, and we wanted to have much more expressive faces for that launch trailer. So it means that the Viseme system that's been put out, it hasn't been worked on as much as I would like, but there's kind of some future thinking that's coming out of it too. So where it's going to evolve, or how we're going to reincorporate this later and try and solve, let's say, some of the problems. I guess we're in a beta test of it now to try and figure out all the kinks, and then we can try and improve on that later. But yeah, I mean, the plan eventually, of course, is to have a set of custom Visemes, right, that can potentially be driven by anything, and particularly using the OSC system that we've talked about before, right? That's our plan, is to let people drive their Visemes from, I don't know, whatever they want, right? So, yeah, that's this is kind of the first sort of test towards that, right? And trying to make sure that we can make use of this stuff, that it's not going to take up too much of our precious overhead, which we want to try and reserve as much as possible. And yeah, it's going to look good, and it's going to make everybody look like they've got buck teeth.
Love it.
and, and everybody's talking, yeah, all kind of weird like that. But that's cool. That's okay. That's actually part. If anybody's interested, it's because of the backwards compatibility with the mouth open that problem has crept up, because
Oh,
your
does it
mouth is
multiply?
opening while also viseming. Yes, and that's and the compounding of that is what's causing it.
Oh.
Now, I think it is something I can mitigate and probably get rid of, but I'm reluctant to just for shits and giggles because I think it's kind of funny, but I don't think anybody else does. So maybe I need to realize that can be fixed. But yeah, I believe it can be fixed for anybody who's interested to know that. And you're going to miss it. You're going to miss all the teeth, all the
Mm.
teethy talking. uh, yeah, but yeah. Anybody, any other questions? No? That's cool. No problem. Uh, Here's something that Pony was asking today in the Space Makers or maybe the SDK V2 channel that could be cool to talk about, right? It was about how to maybe do a simple time-based sync.
Yes.
And we sort of weighed in on that a little bit. In fact, maybe Aline could weigh in on this too from the visual scripting side of things. But we were thinking basically something like the sync loop, if you can remember that, Aline. I don't know if anybody here knows what that is or used that all that much. Uh, It's a simple system basically that can synchronize events based on a fixed time interval. And that fixed time interval is the same for everybody because you offset it in the same way from actual time. So it's a way to sync things without transferring any data and just using people's time. It relies on their time to be correct, number one, and to not be slightly adrift compared to your time. And yeah, then you can sync things probably within a second or two. Usually time these days on most devices is kept updated, right? Because it just updates itself in the background and nobody really has to care about it anymore. So thankfully that keeps things fairly close together. But yeah, I mean, I was thinking, Aline, you might be able to get access to system time in some way and then be able to just check to see if you're within a certain interval offset from the start, from the epoch. Does that sound possible in visual scripting?
Um, I'm pretty sure that's already possible. Let me quickly have a look.
So I talked about the modulus operator, right, which is the percentage symbol you can use in code. I don't know if that's in visual scripting as well, but it quite conveniently allows you to see what the remainder is if you were to divide one number into another. And then what you can do is you can check to make sure that the remainder is 0, which means whatever your number is divides evenly into said number. And that gives you an ability to potentially uh, have something happen at a certain interval just using that quick check, right? Which is, I don't know. That was my thinking. If you could do like a 1 second loop that does a check like a modulus check and then has some sort of a either an output from that or anything, I feel like that could work. It could be very simple. Yeah, that's always possible. I'd say in this case, though, it's probably unnecessary because I would assume that visual scripting can access system time, which should give you Unix
No,
timestamp.
actually not.
Oh no.
You have to use, yeah. No, we went with date time, that
Gotcha.
we are not completely surfacing everything inside of system.
Oh no, that's fine. Well, datetime should do it. Datetime should have a Unix timestamp.
Pretty sure. At least you get milliseconds.
Or yeah, milliseconds or seconds from epoch or something like that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's possible. I would imagine it's possible. It's probably fairly easy to do like a timed loop, where it basically waits for a second and then calls itself pretty much over and over. But if not, like Shoseki said, you can get time from JavaScript. Oh, is this from the? Is this from you or the live stream? Okay, nice. I am the law.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, so my plan was to basically round it to seconds. And the Unix timestamp is normally seconds, but JavaScript will give you a millisecond timestamp, typically with any date stuff you do. So I would round it to seconds, and then as long as your loop can run on a 1 second interval, then ideally the second should always be a whole second, changing only by one every loop. So in that case, it should just work as long as a second is enough granularity for whatever it is that you're going to do. And usually it is for things that we're talking about. It might be some sort of at least a few seconds at a minimum worth of a loop, right? So things up to sort of probably upwards of sort of 5 seconds up to sort of 60 seconds are probably really good candidates for this kind of thing. One thing it does probably lack is the ability to offset at the very start. So if somebody joins in the middle of an interval, they will have to wait until that interval ends for it to actually sync up for them and for things to come back into alignment, let's say. So if it's a short interval by only sort of 5 to 10 seconds, that can be really good because they hardly notice it, right? 5 to 10 seconds
Mm-hmm.
can hide you can hide things quite well in that. But yeah, I don't know. It's just some ideas. There may be a better way to do it. Uh, but yeah, I ran into that same problem when I built the original sync loop Shoseki. So what I had to do was kind of prime it so that if it got within 1,000 milliseconds of the time it was supposed to execute, it would prime it, and at that point would wait the exact remainder time to fire. So that way I was able to get that millisecond accuracy as well, but also guarantee that it would fire. Um, yeah, as long as it ran within 1,000 milliseconds. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then fire your reset logic and whatever you need to do there. But so that's that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Pony, if you managed to work anything out in that regard, or if you hadn't seen my message yet or hadn't had a chance to work on it. But I don't know if you
I
had
haven't
any
had a
other
chance to
ideas.
work on it yet. Literally,
Yeah.
was still building the. It is a massive tower that rotates. And
Yes.
you climb it as it rotates.
Well,
I've
that sounds.
rebuilt
I
this
mean, if
one.
it does it rotate slowly?
Yes,
That's
it's
probably
going
a
to
really
rotate
good
slowly.
candidate. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
So
Well,
early
I
days
hope we
yet. I'm
can
still
figure that
building
out.
it.
Yeah. That's probably a convenient node for other people if we can, or a graph really, if we can figure that out for other people. So yeah, I hope we can figure that out. Cool. Anybody any other questions before I continue to waffle on about other things? No, no questions. That's cool. I'm happy to waffle. I've been working on some cool things this week, and I'll talk about them for as long as you'll listen to me, or just a little over 5 minutes. uh, so I mentioned in the general chat earlier that I've been working on something as a precursor to support for things like full body tracking, for things like synced visemes in the
Someone.
future, even for things like hand tracking. You okay, Vansky?
Okay. No, when you
Someone asleep?
mentioned body tracking, someone just did this,
Yeah,
and I was like, what? What?
a breath of
Okay,
fresh
okay,
air.
okay, okay, okay.
People are crazy for that for body tracking. Or he's snorting body tracking lines or something up there. Who knows? Oh
Oh
no.
Now I have to take a breath.
Yeah.
no.
God damn.
Danny
got that energy to stand up all day in body tracking, and that's how he's got it.
Yeah, big brain.
But yeah, we what I've been working on is kind of cool, and I'm still sort of refining it, but some of the early tests look really promising. Basically, the idea is that fuck right. Maybe I've got to explain something else before I explain this. I'm probably going to go over time, but so whenever we synchronize all of the information required for you to see other people in the space, all we actually synchronize is the two hands and the head, the rotation and the positions of those appendages. The rest of it is all just calculated, right? Actually, I do synchronize the feet as well. That's why they lift up in midair and why you can lift them up over edges. Right? So that's an extra point. The new system goes through your entire body and pulls out enough information to be able to synchronize all of your avatar's body movements. And the idea then that we transmit all of that, and then on the other side, for the other person, for the other version of you, we don't have to calculate anything. We can simply apply all of that data to your body for other people to be able to see what you're doing. So the idea behind that is that yeah, in future when body tracking is available, it will just be inherently synced, right? Because right now, believe it or not, when I move around, oh, I realize I can't move on this for some reason because it's not walkable. Has it always been like that? I've never been able to
I
move
think
my
so.
legs up here.
Yeah.
Well, when I walk on the ground, you can kind of see that my legs are moving around. But you're seeing one version of my legs move around and I'm seeing another because we each have that animation running on our machine, right? For each person in the room. But this new system removes all of that calculation. And believe it or not, that's actually probably going to be a huge chunk of overhead because each and every person in here that you're looking at has an animator running on their avatar at the minimum, but it also has a full IK system using final IKs because we wanted legs, right? We weren't willing to compromise, and legs were important. We wanted people to be able to crouch and to have blended animations that blend with their IK as they crouch, and all of that stuff was really important. But it's costly, right? It costs a lot for each avatar to have to do that. And because it's something that's attached to avatars, it means it's also a scale problem, right? Because as more and more people come into the room, more and more your CPU is crunching, trying to solve all these awkward elbow placements. So what's great about this new system is it removes a lot of that stuff that's attached to the avatars. So it means that in future we may be able to have better scale. Not only will we have better scale, but believe it or not, when you look at your own hand and maybe you put your hand out in front of you, it's not going to be in the same position as everybody else sees it. And the reason for that is because we use what's called a level of detail on the IK as well. Basically, it means we turn the IK down for remote versions of avatars, whereas it's higher quality for you yourself, right? It means that the shoulders aren't figured out and aren't solved as much for each and every remote avatar, but they are solved for your local avatar, and that's just a cost saving. That's what that reduces performance overall and tries to make this run as well as it can. But in future, we won't have to take that compromise because we'll be able to transfer your full IK running at the highest quality from your local client and basically broadcast that to everybody in the room. So you'll get involves hand pose and hand pose that can be baked into objects. Objects can have multiple grab settings or types, let's say, as well as grab points. Like you can have a gun, and as soon as you go to grab it, it will just go into the right position, and then you've got another grab point, and your hand will go into both will go into the right pose they're supposed to be. All of that kind of stuff. Well, what's great about it is that he's built out this data structure that can describe your hand using basically 4 or 5 vector fours, right? Which is a fairly low amount of data to be able to describe your hand, because typically there are 40 bones in either hand, right? Where's Barry? Where are you, Barry?
It's not
Oh no,
Barry,
it's
it's
Iron
Iron.
Wolf.
Oh, sorry.
You okay?
Oh no, the tornado.
Somebody's got aircon. But
Ah,
yeah,
it's a
it means
fan.
that we can describe the fingers using kind of bend values, right? Instead of having to transfer all the rotations and positions of each bone. So it means that we've got a new approach to doing it. It involves less data, which means that now in future we can sort of tack that on to this new system where we can send across an additional 4 or 5 vectors for each hand, and then you've got hand tracking sync in the future as well, just seamlessly, right? So that's really nice in terms of how that can fit. And then to kind of round all of that off and off the previous conversation that we're having as well, Visemes or blend shapes in general can just slot straight into that system as well. So right now the problems we're running into with lip sync, and I have to switch it off when there's too many people in the room, well, you can just calculate it all locally for one person and then broadcast those Viseme values across to everybody else. As well as future custom Viseme values, right, or custom blend shape values too. So this is pretty interesting because it's a totally different approach to how we would typically do networking. And honestly, it's only really possible because we've been able to try and figure out ways to remove unnecessary data points that we just don't need. For instance, I've had massive success by removing all position values except for the root of the avatar and the hip bone. Honestly, so far things have actually worked really well from there with just rotations alone, which is surprising, right? You can kind of rotate each bone as you go and rotate them into position to get them to where you need to be. There's actually no position values required to do that. So that's one thing that we've been doing to try and achieve this. And yeah, then it's a matter of looking at what bones we absolutely need, what different levels of bones are there that need to be synced. And then on top of that, what I was playing with was a level of detail system for the bone syncing. It's kind of like a network level of detail. So for people who are far away, it stops updating all of their bones and only updates some of them. And then before long, it's only updating their hip bone. And then people who are really far away, they're just avatars that are only moving based on the root position of their avatar. And that's it. So, it's a really nice optimization to be able to have that in. Right now, it doesn't go as far as to actually stop the data transfer. The data is still coming in. We just stop processing it. But in future, I hope to be able to actually limit that data transfer as well. So it means that you're only getting position updates from people who you're close to or who fall into a certain subcategory or something like that. And honestly, that sounds crazy because what it could allow for is kind of an open world approach, right? Where as long as people aren't congregating in a really small position, that will actually be able to just have a massive number of people in a space. So, of course, a lot of this is sort of blue sky really at this stage in terms of where we're thinking with it. But the idea is that something like this, some network system like this, if it can function and be performant, and so far I've tested it with about 25 avatars all on basically the same position, and I tried it out on my phone. I haven't tested it on the Quest yet, but I tried it out on my phone, and my phone maxes out at 60 FPS, but it never dropped below with 25 people there. So that was honestly a really encouraging first test, that removing all of the calculations and instead doing that as synced data transfer is actually saving a lot of performance compared to how we're doing things at the minute. Uh, yeah,
Nice.
so there's
Oh
ravioli
my god.
and he just missed all of the cool things that we were talking about. But maybe he's got some cool Visemes he wants to show us. Is that what we've got?
I was watching on YouTube. I was hearing it.
Oh, you heard it.
I was on YouTube, yeah. And I
Oh.
was like, oh
Ah,
man, I thought it was gonna end right now, and then I saw there was more time, so I was like, let me jump in real quick. So yeah.
yes, yes. I do actually have to jump. I've been waffling on for more than I was saying there. But maybe I can stick around if you've jumped in just to ask a question.
Real quick is
Sure.
I'm sure if you notice my eyeballs are tiny. I try to attach Visemes to my separate eyeballs, but
I
I don't know
see.
if that works or not. The Viseme stuff.
Whew,
I
that's
don't
an
know if
interesting
do
one.
my eyes look normal? They should be small. Oh, actually, too, another question. Do the Visemes show up in the mirrors if I'm looking in a mirror?
No.
Currently, no.
No?
Currently, no. But that is
Okay.
something that we are working on. I don't see your eyeballs
Okay,
doing anything right now. I wonder is that. It's interesting. Right now, it should
No.
just go through every mesh, and if it has the 14 or so Visemes required, then it sets up the lip sync on it. Although
cool.
there are
Yeah.
some optimizations, especially on Quest right now. We did some last minute optimization to cut out the Visemes if there's too many people in the space. Although I think you might still have them because I've just megaphoned you, and I think megaphoned people still get them. I don't know. Do I still seem to have them? For you guys?
Yeah,
Do I
you
look
have.
like still have them?
Yes. Yeah,
But
you have
for
those.
everybody else, like if you turn to Vansky, does Vansky have them for you? Oh, Proxide, you're on PC, right?
What is it? What is it?
Yeah, I'm on PCVR. Yeah.
Ah, right.
Mm.
So I don't
Tripit, are you on
count. Okay.
PC? PC has a higher limit, so it might not have hit it.
Ah, I see. Okay. Yeah.
I'm on Quest.
But it falls back onto the previous mouth open animation. I don't know if you heard half
Mm.
the stuff I was just saying there, Ravioli, but in a nutshell, there's a new sync system we're working on for the avatars, which should allow us to just do all of the processing locally for IK, for lip sync, for everything, do it at the highest quality, and then sync all of the bone information so that we can then just update transforms on the other end and remove all of the animation, all of the IK solving for each and every remote avatar in the space. And yeah, so far the early
Cool.
tests look pretty cool. And yeah, it doesn't look like there's too much data transfer, and the performance seems to be pretty good in some of my early tests. So yeah, I'm fairly excited about how we can do that. Although something funny I have thought of, and I'll just put it out here for you guys, maybe as a final thought, right? On that bombshell, let's say. But yeah, I realized that somebody could just mod the client and have their avatar do all sorts of crazy animations, and because we're syncing the bones, everyone's going to see them. So maybe we'll put out, maybe we'll just put out a little challenge to see who can mod the most obscene avatar movements into the client somehow, right? And then we're gonna sync them because we're just gonna sync the bone data, the bone information, the bone pose, basically. But yeah,
Uh-oh.
right? It's exciting. Yeah, we've got lots of cool, exciting things in the works. And one of the biggest things, of course, is that this hopefully will enable us to have fully synchronized body tracking, right? And that's something that we're pretty excited about right now.
Challenge accepted.
Oh my
Nice.
God.
Oh boy. Okay, well listen, Yurluk, I'm about to bounce, but I promise it's not because you just got here. I had to jump 10 minutes ago, and I'm
Oh no.
already running late. But Yurlik is actually, it's great timing because he's going to take over for me. Go ahead, Yurlik. Come up and step on stage. You can take over the rest of the event. It's whatever you want. It's whatever you want, Yurlik Day. Go ahead. Here, I'll just megaphone you, and then I'll just run around the back of the screen and just do an old Irish exit. See you guys later.
Bye.